world hung suspended. Min-Chu's finger on the trigger. Gun pressed to Eleonora's temple. Tae-Ho frozen with his weapon raised. 10 feet away, but it might as well have been miles. The sunset painted everything red, blood red, warning red, the color of endings. If I can't have you, Min-Chu whispered. Nobody can. Then, sirens. Distant but growing louder. Multiple vehicles closing fast. Everyone froze. Heads turned. Confusion rippled through the Jade Serpent members. What the hell? Kang Dae-young's head snapped toward the shipyard entrance. Who called the cops? The sirens grew deafening. Min-Chu's grip on Elanora faltered, just slightly. His hollow eyes widened. No, this wasn't. Police! Everyone on the ground. Now! Blue and red lights flooded the shipyard. Police vehicles poured through the entrance. 5, 6, 7 cars. Officers spilling out, weapons drawn, shouting orders. Chaos erupted. Jade Serpent members scattered. Some ran. Some dropped weapons and raised hands. Some fired at police, and return fire cracked through the air like thunder. Tae-Ho's eyes never left Eleonora's. Even in the chaos, even with police flooding in, even with his empire crumbling around him. She was all he saw. Min-Chu panicked. His arm tightened around Eleonora's throat. The gun shook against her temple. Stay back! He screamed at the approaching officers. Stay back or I'll. Min-Chu. Tae-Ho's voice cut through the chaos. Deadly calm. Let her go. It's over. It's not over. Tears streamed down Min-Chu's face. She's mine. She was always supposed to be. Tae-Ho moved. One step forward. Deliberate. Drawing Min-Chu's attention. She was never yours, Tae-Ho said quietly. Because people aren't possessions. And love doesn't hold guns to heads. You don't know anything about love. I know I'd rather die than see her hurt. Another step. So if you're going to shoot someone, shoot me. Tae-Ho and Eleonora's voice cracked. But he kept moving, closing the distance. 3 steps. 2. Stop. Min-Chu swung the gun away from Eleonora's head, pointing it at Tae-Ho instead. Don't come any closer. Exactly what Tae-Ho wanted. The moment the gun left Eleonora's temple, he lunged. Everything happened at once. Tae-Ho grabbed for the gun. Min-Chu pulled the trigger. The shot was deafening. Elanora felt Tae-Ho's body slam into hers, knocking her sideways away from Min-Chu. They hit the pier together, his weight covering her protectively. Then warmth, spreading across her shoulder, soaking into her already filthy blazer. Blood. His blood. No. The word came out broken. No. Tae-Ho rolled off her, hand pressed to his side. Blood seeped between his fingers, dark and fast. Tae-Ho! She scrambled to him, hands going to the wound. So much blood. Too much. No, please, you can't. You're safe, he breathed, face going pale. That's all that matters. Officer down, no civilian down. We need medical now. Police swarmed them. Someone pulled Elenora back. She fought, screaming. Let me go. I need to please. Officers tackled Min-Chu to the ground. The gun clattered away. He didn't fight, just lay there sobbing into the wood planks. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm sorry. Hands cuffed him, dragged him up. He looked back at Elenora one last time. Not with obsession now, but with the terrible clarity of someone waking from a nightmare into devastating reality. I'm sorry, he whispered. Then he was gone, shoved into a police car. Elenora barely registered it. Her entire world had narrowed to Tae-Ho lying on the pier, blood pooling beneath him, his face getting paler by the second. Stay with me, she begged, hands pressed to his wound trying to stop the bleeding. Please stay with me. You can't leave. Not after everything. Not now. His hand found hers, blood slick and weak. Not planning to. Then don't close your eyes. Don't you dare close your eyes. Bossy. His smile was faint, pained. I like that about you. Tae-Ho. Love you. The words came out quiet but clear. Should have said it before. Love you, Elenora. No, don't say goodbye. That's not. Her voice broke completely. You don't get to say you love me and then die. That's not fair. That's not. Paramedics rushed in, pushing her aside gently but firmly. She watched them work. Pressure on the wound, for line, words she couldn't process through the ringing in her ears. We're losing him. BP dropping. Move, move, move. They loaded him onto a stretcher. Lifted. Ran. Elanora tried to follow, but her legs wouldn't work. She collapsed onto the pier, onto his blood, and the scream that tore out of her was primal. For days of held in terror. For days of being strong. For days of surviving. It all came out in that scream. Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground completely. J1, Tae-Ho's second in command, pulled her up. Come on. We're following the ambulance. Boss would kill me if I left you here. She let herself be pulled to a car. Vaguely registered police arresting Jade Serpent members. Kang Dae-young being shoved into a van, handcuffed and furious. The shipyard swarming with officers. But all she could see was Tae-Ho's pale face. All she could feel was his blood on her hands. The car raced through Seoul, sirens blaring ahead where the ambulance carried him. Elenora stared at her hands. Red, sticky, his life literally in her palms. He'll make it, Jae-won said, though his voice was tight. Boss is too stubborn to die. He got shot saving me. He got shot being himself, protecting what matters. Jae-won glanced at her. You matter. More than the empire. More than anything. He made that choice knowing full well what it meant. I can't lose him. Her voice was small, broken. I can't. Not after. I can't. Then don't. Stay strong for him. He's going to need you when he wakes up. When. Not if. She held onto that word like a lifeline. The hospital loomed ahead, bright, sterile, cold. They pulled up to emergency. The ambulance was already there. Paramedics rushing Tae-Ho inside. Elenora stumbled out of the car and ran. Through automatic doors. Down white hallways. Following the gurney carrying him. Gunshot wound to the abdomen. Significant blood loss. Get him to the O2, stat. Doors closed in her face. Or operating room. She stood there, blood-covered, shaking, staring at those closed doors. A nurse approached gently. Miss, you can't be back here. Are you injured? That's... Her voice wouldn't work. That's my... What was he? Boyfriend? Protector? The man who'd given up everything for her? That's the man I love, she whispered. Please save him. Please. The nurse's expression softened. The doctors are doing everything they can. But you need to let me check you for injuries. You're covered in blood. It's not mine. It's his. All his. She was guided to a waiting area. J1 appeared with paperwork, handling logistics. Other men in suits arrived. Tae-Ho's organization, their faces grim. And then, Elenora. She turned. Her mother burst through the emergency room doors, still in her work uniform, face streaked with tears. Wait, her mother? Mama. The word came out confused. How? J1 called me. From the car. Told me everything. Where you've been. What happened. All of it. Her mother's hands cupped her face, trembling. My baby girl. Elenora collapsed into her mother's arms and finally, broke. For days of captivity. For days of terror. The gun to her head. Min-Chu's obsession. Tae-Ho's blood. Poured out in sobs that shook her entire body. I've got you, her mother whispered, holding her like she had when Elenora was small. Mama's got you. You're safe now. You're safe. But Tae-Ho wasn't. Somewhere beyond those doors, he was fighting for his life. Because of her. To save her. And all she could do was wait. Soul lovers, before we continue, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? What time is it there? And how have you been loving this story so far? We're coming to the end now, and your support has meant everything. Drop your location, time, and thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you're Team Tae-Ho forever, or if this journey has been as emotional for you as it's been to write. Now let's continue. Time stopped meaning anything. Elenora sat in the surgical waiting room, her mother on one side, J1 on the other. The clock on the wall ticked forward but felt like it was moving backward. Or not moving at all. She was still covered in Tae-Ho's blood. Someone had brought her clean clothes, but she couldn't bring herself to change. Couldn't wash his blood off her hands. Like if she kept it there, kept this physical proof of him, he couldn't really be dying. Magical thinking. She knew that. But logic had left the building hours ago. Miss Diggs. Her mother's hand tightened on hers. Baby, the nurse is talking to you. Elanora looked up. A kind-faced nurse stood there with a blanket. You're in shock. This will help with the cold. Was she cold? She couldn't tell. Couldn't feel anything except the terror sitting like a stone in her chest. The blanket was wrapped around her shoulders. Her mother rubbed her back in slow circles like she used to when Elenora was little and had nightmares. Except this nightmare was real. The waiting room filled slowly. More of Tae-Ho's men arrived, silent, grim, standing guard even here. Then, like a storm rolling in, an older Korean man entered. The room snapped to attention. Even Elenora felt it, the shift in air, the weight of presence. This was someone who commanded without speaking. Boss! Jae-won stood immediately, bowing slightly. Lee Jin-woo, Tae-Ho's father. He was shorter than his son but somehow took up more space. Silver hair perfectly styled. Expensive suit that probably cost more than Eleanor's entire education. Eyes that swept the room and landed on her with laser focus. You're the girl. Not a question. Elenora stood on shaking legs. Yes, sir. He moved closer, studying her with the same intensity his son had shown the first time they met. Then his eyes dropped to her blood-covered clothes. That's his blood. Yes, sir. He was shot protecting you. Yes, sir. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I'm so. Why are you apologizing? His tone was sharp but not unkind. He made his choice. The same choice I should have made 20 years ago. His jaw tightened. Where are the doctors? Surgery, Jae-won said. 3 hours now. No updates yet. Jin-woo's carefully controlled expression flickered. Just for a moment, Elenora saw the father beneath the crime boss. Fear. Raw and real. He sat down heavily in the chair across from her. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then, he told me he loved you. Eleanor's breath caught. When? Yesterday. When he was planning the rescue. Jin-woo's eyes were distant. He said you were worth more than the empire. More than 3 generations of blood and sacrifice. I thought he was a fool. And now I think he's braver than I ever was. Jin-woo leaned forward, elbows on knees. My wife, his mother. She was taken by rivals when Tae-Ho was 5. They demanded I surrender territory. I refused. I thought I could save her and keep everything. I was wrong. Eleanor's mother made a soft sound of sympathy. They killed her. Jin-woo's voice was hollow. And I've lived with that choice every day since. Tae-Ho grew up without a mother because I chose power over love. His eyes met Eleanor's. He chose differently. He chose you. So if you're going to apologize for anything, apologize for making my son human again. For giving him something worth dying for. I don't want him to die for me. I want him to live with me. Something almost like a smile touched Jin-woo's lips. Then we're in agreement. The doors opened. Everyone stood at once. A surgeon emerged, pulling off bloodied gloves, mask hanging around his neck. His expression was exhausted. Family of Lee Tae-Ho? I'm his father. And I'm... Eleanor's voice failed. She's family, Jin-woo said firmly. Tell us. The surgeon's face was carefully neutral. The bullet entered his left side, perforated the intestine, nicked the kidney. We repaired the damage, stopped the bleeding. He's stable for now. For now, Elenora whispered. He lost a significant amount of blood. The next 48 hours are critical. If infection sets in, if there are complications. The surgeon hesitated. He's young and strong. But I won't lie to you. It could go either way. The words hit like bullets themselves. Can we see him? Jin-woo asked. He's being moved to ICU. One visitor at a time, 5 minutes only. He's unconscious and will be for a while. Jin-woo looked at Elenora. You first. But you're his father. And you're his reason for living. Jin-woo's voice was firm. Go. The ICU was cold and sterile and smelled like antiseptic. Elanora followed a nurse through hallways that all looked the same until they reached a room with glass walls. Inside, machines beeped rhythmically. Tubes and wires connected to the still figure in the bed. Tae-Ho. But not the Tae-Ho she knew. This version was pale, vulnerable, stripped of the dangerous confidence that usually surrounded him like armor. His black hair fell across his forehead. His chest rose and fell with the help of machines. 5 minutes, the nurse said gently. Elenora moved to his bedside on legs that barely held her. His hand lay on top of the blanket, for line taped to the back. She took it carefully like he might break. Hi, she whispered. I know you can't hear me, or maybe you can. I don't know how this works. Her thumb traced circles on his palm. They said the next 48 hours are critical. So I need you to fight. I need you to be stubborn and impossible and refuse to die because that's what you do. You're Lee Tae-Ho. You don't lose. You don't quit. And you don't get to tell me you love me and then leave. The machines beeped steadily. His face didn't change. I love you too. The words came out broken. I should have said it on that rooftop. Should have said it in the car. Should have said it every moment since. I love you. And you don't have permission to die. Do you hear me? You don't. Her voice dissolved into sobs. She laid her head on the bed beside his hand, careful of all the wires, and cried. For days of terror. The gun to her head. His blood on her hands. All of it poured out. Miss. The nurse was back. Time's up. You can come back in an hour. Elenora kissed his knuckles. I'll be right outside. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. So you come back to me. Okay? You come back. She forced herself to walk out. Jin-woo went in next. Through the glass, she watched him sit beside his son. Watched this powerful, dangerous man hold his son's hand and bow his head, praying maybe, or just being a father. Her mother appeared with coffee. Drink, baby. You need something in your system. I can't. You can. You have to stay strong for him. Her mother's voice was firm. He's going to wake up. And when he does, he's going to need you healthy and whole. So drink. Elenora drank. Tasted like nothing. Mama, how did you get here so fast? Jae-won called me from the car. Told me everything. Where you've been. What happened? Her mother's voice shook. I was on the first flight I could get. Been in the air for 14 hours thinking my baby was. She couldn't finish. Just pulled Elenora close. But you're alive. You're here. Thank God. I'm so sorry I lied to you. About school. About everything. We'll talk about that later. Right now, we're just going to sit here and wait for that boy to wake up, so I can thank him for keeping you alive. Hours crawled by. Jin-woo emerged from the ICU, face carefully composed but eyes red-rimmed. No change, he said. He's stable but unconscious. More waiting. Elenora went in for her second visit. Then her third. Each time, Tae-Ho lay motionless, the machines doing the work his body couldn't. She talked to him anyway, about nothing and everything, about her mother being here, about how scared she was, about the future they'd have when he woke up. Night fell. The waiting room cleared except for Elenora, her mother, Jin-woo, and Jae-won. You should rest, Jin-woo said to Elenora. There's a family room. I'm not leaving. Stubborn. But he almost smiled. He chose well. Mr. Lee, Eleanor's mother said carefully. I need to understand what my daughter has been through, what your son is, what world she's entered. Jin-woo studied her for a long moment. Your daughter entered a world of violence and power. My son is heir to an organization that operates outside the law. Normally, I would tell you to take her and run. Go back to America. Forget all this. But my son loves her. Genuinely. Selflessly. In a way I've never seen him love anything. Jinwoo's voice was quiet. And if he survives this, he'll spend the rest of his life protecting her. That's not a promise I make lightly. That's a fact. Will she ever be safe? As safe as I can make her. As safe as my son would die to make her. He looked at Elenora. The question isn't my intentions. It's hers. Does she want this life? Because once you're in, you're in. There's no casual relationship with a man like my son. All eyes turned to Elenora. I want him, she said simply. Whatever that means. Whatever that costs. I want him alive and I want him with me. Her mother's hand squeezed hers. Then I guess we're doing this. Midnight came and went. Elenora dozed in the uncomfortable chair, her mother's arm around her. She woke to commotion. Nurses rushing into Tae-Ho's room. Alarms blaring. The monitor showing numbers that meant nothing to her but everything to the staff. What's happening? She was on her feet, heart in her throat. Code blue. Get the crash cart. No. The word tore out of her. No. Jae-won held her back as she lunged for the ICU room. Let them work. Let them. He's dying. He's fighting. Jae-won's voice was fierce. And we don't give up. Not on him. Not ever. Through the glass she watched them work. Chest compressions. Defibrillator. Someone calling out numbers that sounded like death. Jinwoo stood beside her. Stone-faced but his hands were shaking. Please, Elenora whispered. Please don't take him. Not after everything. Please. The minutes stretched like years. Then, we got him back. Pulse is steady. Relief crashed over the room like a wave. Elenora's legs gave out. Her mother caught her. He's okay. He's okay, baby. But for how long? The doctor emerged, exhausted. His heart stopped. We got him back. But he's extremely weak. The next 24 hours. He shook his head. I'm sorry. All we can do is wait. Wait. Always waiting. Elenora went back to his bedside when they allowed it. Took his hand. Leaned close. You don't get to leave me, she whispered fiercely. You hear me, Lee Tae-Ho? You don't get to save me just to die. That's not how this ends. We survive together. So you fight. You fight harder than you've ever fought for anything. And you come back to me. The machines beeped steadily. His hand stayed limp in hers. But somewhere, beneath all that stillness, she had to believe he heard her. Had to believe he was fighting. Because the alternative was unthinkable. 3 days later, at the police station, Min-Chu sat in the interrogation room, handcuffed to the table, staring at nothing. He looked different, smaller somehow. The hollow madness in his eyes had been replaced by something worse. Clarity. The terrible, devastating awareness of what he'd done. 2 detectives sat across from him. A psychiatrist stood in the corner, observing. Walk us through it again, Detective Park said. From the beginning. Min-Chu's voice was hoarse, empty. I saw her photo, in the scholarship files, before she even arrived. And I knew. She was supposed to be mine. So you manipulated your first meeting. I positioned myself, made sure I'd be the first person she'd meet. The first person she'd trust. His hands clenched. I thought if I could just make her see me first before anyone else, she'd choose me. She'd love me. But she didn't. She chose him. Min-Chu's voice cracked. She chose the criminal. The dangerous one. And I couldn't. He stopped, breath hitching. I couldn't understand why. What did he have that I didn't? So you decided to kidnap her. I decided to save her. His eyes lifted, desperate for them to understand. From him. From that world. I was saving her. By tying her to a chair for 4 days? By holding a gun to her head? Min-Chu flinched like he'd been struck. I know how it sounds. I know what I did. But in my head it made sense. If I could just make her see. Make her understand. Make her stay. Like your mother stayed? Silence. Heavy and suffocating. The psychiatrist stepped forward. Min-Chu, tell me about the day your mother left. I was 10. His voice was barely audible. I woke up and her closet was empty. No note, no goodbye, just gone. How did that make you feel? Like I wasn't enough. Like if I'd been better, smarter, more perfect, she would have stayed. Tears streamed down his face. My father said it was my fault. Said she left because I was too needy, too clingy. So I learned to hide it. Learned to be perfect. Learned to control everything so no one could leave me again. But people still left. Everyone leaves. His voice was hollow. Jiyoon left. She chose someone else. So I made sure that boy couldn't have her either. If I couldn't... He stopped himself, horror washing over his face. Oh God, I put him in the hospital. I almost killed him. And you got away with it. I learned from my mistakes. Got smarter. More careful. He looked at his hands like they belonged to a stranger. I told myself I was just protecting what was mine. But it wasn't love, was it? It was never love. The psychiatrist made notes. You're showing remarkable self-awareness now. Why do you think that is? Because I almost killed her. The words came out broken. The girl I claimed to love. I held a gun to her head and my finger was on the trigger and I was going to... He couldn't finish. Just doubled over, sobbing. Detective Park and the psychiatrist exchanged glances. We're recommending psychiatric evaluation, the psychiatrist said. This isn't just criminal behavior. This is severe mental illness stemming from childhood trauma and abandonment. He needs treatment, not just punishment. He kidnapped someone, held her hostage for 4 days. Attempted murder. I'm not saying he shouldn't face consequences. I'm saying prison won't fix what's broken in him. It'll just warehouse a sick person. The psychiatrist looked at Min-Chu with something like pity. He needs intensive therapy. Years of it. In a secure facility where he can't hurt anyone but can get the help he desperately needs. Min-Chu looked up, red-eyed. I want to write her a letter. To apologize. Not to excuse what I did. Just to tell her I'm sorry. That she deserves better. That what I did wasn't love. I'll allow it, Detective Park said. But whether she reads it is up to her. Meanwhile, in a different room, Min-Seo sat with her parents and their lawyer. She looked smaller too. No perfect makeup, no designer clothes. Just a girl who'd made a terrible mistake. Miss Han, Detective Kim said. You're aware you're facing serious charges? Conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Aiding and abetting. I know what I did. Her voice was quiet but steady. I introduced Min-Chu to the Jade Serpents. I helped him plan the timing. I knew they were going to take her. Her mother made a soft sound of distress. But, Min-Seo continued, I also called you. I gave you the location. I couldn't, her voice broke. I couldn't have her blood on my hands. Or anyone's blood. When I realized it was going to end in violence, in death, I called. That doesn't erase what you did. I know. I'm not trying to erase it. I'm trying to take responsibility for it. She looked at Detective Kim directly. I was jealous, stupid, cruel. I wanted Tae-Ho and I wanted to hurt the girl who had his attention. So I weaponized Min-Chu's obsession. I helped orchestrate a kidnapping out of petty jealousy. Miss Han, you don't have to, her lawyer started. Yes, I do. Min-Seo cut him off. Because I'm done pretending. Done hiding behind daddy's money and influence. I did something horrible. And I need to face what I've done. The detective studied her. Given that you provided the tip that led to the rescue and prevented further violence, and given your cooperation, the DA is willing to offer a deal. 500 hours of community service. Probation for 2 years. One more incident and you serve time. Take it or leave it. Her father leaned forward. We accept. Where's the community service? Min-Seo interrupted. Detective Kim blinked. I'm sorry. Where would I serve it? Doing what? We're partnering with a women's shelter. You'd be working with women escaping domestic violence and abusive relationships. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Min-Seo was quiet for a long moment. Then, I accept. I'll do the 500 hours. All of it. And I'll do it right. Her mother touched her hand. We're disappointed, Min-Seo. Deeply disappointed. I know, Mom. But we love you. We'll stand by you while you make this right. Tears spilled down Min-Seo's cheeks. I don't deserve that. Maybe not, her father said quietly. But that's what family does. We don't abandon each other. Even when we mess up. 1 week later at the women's shelter, Min-Seo showed up for her first day of community service in jeans and a simple shirt. No designer labels, no makeup, no armor. The shelter director, a kind-faced woman named Mrs. Choi, showed her around. You'll be helping in the children's area, playing with kids whose mothers are escaping abuse, filing paperwork, helping with donations. Nothing glamorous. I don't deserve glamorous. Min-Seo's voice was small. Mrs. Choi studied her. You're the girl from the news. The kidnapping case. Yes, ma'am. Do you understand what you helped do? What those women we serve have experienced. I helped a man terrorize and imprison a woman he claimed to love. I helped create the exact trauma you help women escape from. Min-Seo met her eyes. I know what I did, and I know I can never undo it. But I want to try to learn, to understand, to become someone who'd never do that again. Mrs. Choi was quiet for a moment. Then let's get to work. Back at school 2 weeks later, Min-Seo walked through the halls of Seoul International Academy for the first time since the arrest. The whispers started immediately. That's her. The one who helped kidnap Elenora. I heard she only got community service because of her dad. How is she even allowed back here? Min-Seo kept her head up but her eyes down. No more queen bee strut. No more entourage. Just a girl walking alone through judgment. Her former friends, the ones who'd followed her everywhere, turned away when she approached. Hey, she said quietly to Ji-won, who'd been her closest friend. Can we talk? Ji-won's face was cold. I don't think so. I just wanted to apologize. For everything. For being a terrible friend. You helped kidnap someone, Min-Seo. You could have gotten her killed. And you did it because you were jealous. Ji-won's voice dripped with disgust. We're not friends anymore. We were never really friends. You were just useful. The words hit like slaps. But Min-Seo just nodded. You're right. I'm sorry. She walked away, alone. At lunch, she sat by herself. The cafeteria that used to part for her like the Red Sea now didn't even acknowledge her existence. She was invisible. Exiled. Everything she'd valued, popularity, status, social power, stripped away. But weirdly, sitting there alone with her lunch, Min-Seo felt something she hadn't felt in years. Free. Free from maintaining the perfect image. Free from the constant performance. Free from the shallow world that had rejected her the moment she showed a crack. Her phone buzzed. Text from her mother. How was your first day back? Min-Seo typed back, hard. But I survived it. Love you. Love you too, baby. Proud of you for facing it. Min-Seo stared at the message. Her parents were disappointed but hadn't abandoned her. Her social circle had evaporated but her family remained. Maybe that's what mattered. Maybe losing everything she thought defined her was how she'd finally figure out who she actually was. Psychiatric facility, Min-Chu's first therapy session. Min-Chu sat in a comfortable chair across from Dr. Yang, a patient-faced psychiatrist who specialized in attachment disorders. Tell me why you're here, Dr. Yang said. Because I kidnapped someone. Because I'm broken. Because I don't know how to love without destroying. That's very self-aware. Being aware doesn't change what I did. Min-Chu's hands twisted in his lap. I keep seeing her face. When I had the gun to her head, she wasn't angry. She was sad. She felt sorry for me. Even then. Even after everything. Does that make you angry? It makes me sick. His voice cracked. Because she deserved to be angry. Deserved to hate me. But she just looked at me like I was something broken and pitiful. And she was right. You experienced significant abandonment trauma at age 10. My mother left. Yes. And my father made sure I knew it was my fault. It wasn't your fault. The words hung in the air. Min-Chu looked up, tears streaming. Then why did she leave? I don't know. Maybe she was struggling with her own demons. Maybe the marriage was unhealthy. Maybe 1,000 reasons that had nothing to do with you. Dr. Yang leaned forward. But a 10-year-old boy couldn't understand that. So you internalized it, made it about your worth, and spent the next decade trying to control everything so no one could leave you again. But they did leave. Everyone leaves. Because you were trying to trap them, not love them. There's a difference. Min-Chu was quiet for a long time. I wrote Elenora a letter, apologizing, taking responsibility. They said they'd give it to her, but she doesn't have to read it. Would you want her to? I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me wants her to know I understand now. That I see what I did. He looked at his hands. But another part knows she deserves to never think about me again. To heal and move on and forget I exist. That's growth. Recognizing that her healing matters more than your need for closure. Will I ever be normal? Will I ever be able to love someone without? He couldn't finish. That's what we're here to figure out. It'll take years, Min-Chu. Hard, painful years of unpacking trauma and rebuilding from the ground up. But yes, I believe you can heal. Not into who you were, that person was already broken. But into someone new. Someone who understands that love is freedom, not possession. Min-Chu nodded slowly. I want that. I want to become someone who'd never hurt anyone the way I hurt her. Then that's where we start. The letter sitting on Detective Park's desk. An envelope, addressed to Elanora Diggs in Min-Chu's careful handwriting. Inside, 3 pages of apology. Taking full responsibility. Explaining without excusing. Wishing her healing and happiness. It ended with, I called it love but it was fear. I see that now. You deserve real love. The kind that sets you free, not traps you. I'm sorry for all of it. You owe me nothing, especially forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to become someone who'd never do this again. Min-Chu. The letter sat there, waiting. Whether Elanora would ever read it remained to be seen. Hospital Day 5. Elanora hadn't left the hospital in 5 days. She'd changed clothes once, her mother forcing her into clean jeans and a sweater, but she refused to go further than the cafeteria. Refused to shower properly, just quick rinses in the visitor's bathroom. Refused to sleep anywhere but the waiting room chair. Because what if he woke up and she wasn't there? What if he died and she wasn't holding his hand? The rational part of her brain knew this wasn't healthy. The traumatized part didn't care. Baby, you need to rest properly, her mother said for the 100th time. There's a hotel across the street. Just a few hours of real sleep. I can't. Eleanor's voice was flat. I can't leave him. Jin-woo, who'd become a permanent fixture in the waiting room himself, glanced at her with understanding. She won't leave. I recognize that look. I wore it 20 years ago. Her mother sighed but didn't push further. The truth was, Elanora was terrified. Not just of Tae-Ho dying, though that terror lived in every breath, but of closing her eyes. Because every time she did, she was back in the warehouse. The first nightmare. It happened on day 3. Elanora had finally dozed off in the waiting room chair, exhausted beyond measure. In the dream, she was tied to the chair again. The warehouse dark and cold. Min-Chu's voice echoing. If I can't have you, nobody can. But this time, when the gun pressed to her temple, it was Tae-Ho who pulled the trigger. She woke up screaming. Her mother grabbed her, held her. It's okay, you're safe, you're safe. I can't. Elanora gasped for air. Panic attack in full bloom. I can't breathe. Yes, you can. Look at me. Breathe with me. In through your nose. It took 10 minutes for her heart to stop racing. A nurse approached with concern. Has she been seen by anyone? For trauma counseling. She won't leave the waiting room, her mother said helplessly. I'll have our trauma counselor come to her. Dr. Sarah Kim, trauma specialist. The counselor who came was young, kind-faced, with gentle eyes. I'm Dr. Kim. I specialize in trauma recovery. The nurses told me you were kidnapped and held for 4 days. Elanora nodded, not meeting her eyes. And you've been having nightmares? Another nod. What you're experiencing is completely normal. After what you went through, your brain is trying to process extreme trauma. The nightmares, the hypervigilance, the inability to leave, these are all symptoms of acute stress response. I just want it to stop. It will, but it takes time, and it takes active work. Dr. Kim sat beside her. Would you be willing to talk to me? Just for a few minutes. Elanora hesitated, then nodded. Tell me about the worst moment, the one that keeps replaying. The gun. Eleanor's voice was barely a whisper. Pressed against my head, his finger on the trigger, knowing he was going to do it, knowing I was going to die. But you didn't die. Tae-Ho saved me, and he got shot. Her voice broke. He's in there dying because of me. No, he's in there because someone shot him. That's not your fault. It is. If he hadn't met me, if I hadn't. If. Dr. Kim's voice was firm but kind. Trauma makes us rewrite history, taking blame for things beyond our control. You didn't pull the trigger. You didn't kidnap yourself. You're a victim, Elenora, not the cause. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they made her angry. Then why do I feel like this? Why can't I sleep? Why do I see Min-Chu every time I close my eyes? Because your brain is protecting you. It's saying, remember this danger so it never happens again. But it's overprotective. It's showing you the danger even when it's not there anymore. Dr. Kim pulled out a card. This is my number. When you're ready, not now, but when you're ready, I want you to call me. We'll work through this together. Professional help, proper therapy. You don't have to carry this alone. Elenora took the card with shaking hands. Will it ever stop? The fear. It'll transform. It won't always be this sharp, this overwhelming. With time and work, it becomes something you can live with. Something that doesn't control you. Dr. Kim squeezed her hand gently. You survived, Elenora. That takes incredible strength. Now you learn to survive the aftermath. Day 6, Tae-Ho's crisis. The alarms went off at 3 a.m. Elenora jerked awake. She'd finally dozed off in the chair. To chaos. Nurses rushing into Tae-Ho's ICU room. Doctors being paged. The words she'd learned to dread. He's crashing. What's happening? She was on her feet, her mother right behind her. Infection, a nurse said, running past with medication. His body's fighting sepsis. Jinwoo appeared from somewhere. Face pale. How bad? Bad. He needs emergency surgery. They have to. The nurse disappeared into the ICU. Through the glass, Elenora watched them work. Watched Tae-Ho's body convulse. Watched numbers on monitors spike and plummet. No, she breathed. No, no, no. Her mother held her back as she lunged for the door. Let them work, baby. Let them save him. He's dying. He's dying right there and I can't. He's fighting. Jinwoo's voice was steel. My son is a fighter. He doesn't quit. He doesn't lose. But watching through that glass, watching his body fail, Elenora wasn't sure fighting was enough. 20 minutes later, 20 minutes that felt like 20 years, a doctor emerged. We've stabilized him. The infection is serious, but we caught it in time. He needs another surgery to clean out the wound site. We're prepping him now. Will he survive it? Jinwoo's voice was carefully controlled. I don't know. He's weak. Very weak. But if we don't operate, the infection will kill him within hours. Then operate. Jinwoo's voice left no room for argument. They wheeled Tae-Ho out of ICU toward surgery. Elenora caught a glimpse of his face. Pale, almost gray, so far from the dangerous, confident man who'd walked into her life. Please, she whispered to no one and everyone. Please don't take him from me. Hour 4 of surgery. Elenora sat with her head in her hands, exhaustion and fear warring in her body. Her mother brought her tea she didn't drink. Jinwoo paced like a caged animal. Jae-won stood guard, silent and grim. Tell me about him, Elenora said suddenly, looking at Jinwoo. Tell me about Tae-Ho. Before all this. Before me. Jinwoo stopped pacing. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, He was 5 when his mother died. After that, he became silent. Not sullen or rebellious. Just quiet. Like he was holding everything inside. Jinwoo's voice was distant. I thought it was strength. I encouraged it. Trained him to be cold, controlled, emotionless. Perfect heir to the empire. When did that change? It didn't. Not until you. Jinwoo looked at her directly. You made him laugh. I heard it once when he was on the phone with you. Actually laugh. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard that sound. Eleanor's eyes burned. I didn't know that. He started questioning things. The violence. The empire. Whether power was worth what we paid for it. Jinwoo's smile was sad. You made him want to be better. Made him believe he could be more than what I raised him to be. I just wanted him to be himself. That's exactly why he loves you. Jinwoo sat down heavily. You saw the man, not the monster. Not the heir. Just him. Silence settled over them. Then Jinwoo spoke again. Quieter. If he doesn't make it, don't. Eleanor's voice was fierce. Don't say it. He's going to make it. He has to. But if he doesn't, Jinwoo continued, I want you to know that you gave him something I never could. Hope. Humanity. Love. His voice cracked slightly. You gave my son a reason to fight. Whatever happens, I'm grateful for that. He gave me the same thing, Elenora whispered. He saved me in more ways than just the rescue. He made me believe I was worth protecting, worth fighting for, worth loving. Her mother wiped tears from her eyes. You are, baby. You always have been. I know that now. Because of him. Hour 6 of surgery. The doors finally opened. The same exhausted surgeon from before, now looking even more worn. The surgery was successful. We removed the infected tissue, cleaned the wound. He's stable. Relief crashed over the room like a wave. But, the surgeon continued, he's extremely weak. The next 24 hours will tell us if his body can recover from this setback. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I won't make promises I can't keep. Can we see him? Elanora asked. He's in recovery. Give us 30 minutes, then yes. One at a time. Recovery room. When they finally let her in, Tae-Ho looked worse than before. More tubes. More machines. More stillness. But he was alive. Elenora took his hand carefully, mindful of all the IVs. Hi, she whispered. You scared us. Again. You really need to stop doing that. Her thumb traced circles on his palm. The doctor says the next 24 hours are critical. So I need you to keep fighting. I know you're tired. I know your body hurts. But you don't get to quit on me. She leaned closer, resting her forehead against his hand. I'm a mess without you. Can't sleep. Can't eat properly. Having nightmares. Your dad and my mom are basically keeping me functioning. A watery laugh. You'd probably lecture me about taking care of myself. About being strong. But I can't be strong without you. So you need to wake up. You need to open those annoying, intense eyes and tell me everything's going to be okay. The machines beeped steadily. His chest rose and fell. I love you, she whispered. I love you so much it terrifies me. I didn't know I could feel this much. Didn't know someone could become so essential that breathing felt impossible without them. But that's what you are. Essential. My air. My ground. Her voice broke completely. So you come back to me. You fight through this infection and the pain and the exhaustion and you come back. Because I'm not done with you yet. We're not done with each other. You promised me always. And I'm holding you to that. She stayed there until the nurse made her leave, holding his hand, willing her strength into him. Day 7 dawn. Elenora was dozing in the waiting room when her mother shook her awake. Baby, wake up. Terror spiked. Is he? The nurse wants you. Now. Elenora ran. Through the hallways. To the ICU. Expecting the worst. But when she burst through the door, Tae-Ho's eyes were open. Barely. Exhausted and pained. But open. Aware. Alive. Hi! He rasped. Voice raw from the breathing tube. Eleanor's knees gave out. She collapsed into the chair beside his bed, tears streaming. You're awake. You're actually. Told you. His smile was weak but there. Not planning to leave. You almost did. Twice. Stubborn. His hand moved slightly, finding hers. Like someone I know. She laughed through her tears. You got shot. You got an infection. You died and came back. Worth it. His eyes found hers, intense even in exhaustion. You're safe. That's all. That matters. You matter too, you impossible man. Love you too. His eyes were already drifting closed again. Stay. Always. His hand squeezed hers weakly before he fell back into healing sleep. But this time it was different. This was rest, not unconsciousness. Recovery, not death. Elenora sat there holding his hand, watching him breathe, and for the first time in 7 days, she let herself believe. They'd survived. Both of them. Together. 2 weeks later, Tae-Ho had been moved from the ICU to a private recovery room. The machines were fewer now, the tubes mostly gone. He could sit up with help, could eat soft foods, could stay awake for more than 20 minutes at a time. Progress. Slow, painful progress. But progress nonetheless. Elenora sat beside his bed, reading aloud from her calculus textbook. Partly to help herself catch up, partly because he'd asked her to. Said her voice helped him focus on something other than pain. You're going to ace that exam, he said. Voice still rough but stronger than days ago. I'm 3 weeks behind. My professors have been understanding but... She stopped, looked at him. That doesn't matter right now. It matters. His hand found hers on the bed. You didn't cross an ocean to let your education fall apart because of me. Because of Min-Chu. Not you. Same result. His jaw tightened. Have you heard anything about the trial? She hesitated. He's not going to trial. Not immediately. Court ordered him to a psychiatric facility for treatment. They're saying severe mental illness, trauma-induced psychosis. He'll be evaluated for years before they decide about criminal proceedings. Tae-Ho was quiet for a long moment. How do you feel about that? I don't know. She set the textbook aside. Part of me wants him in prison. Part of me. She struggled for words. Part of me just feels sad. For the boy who was so broken he thought kidnapping was love. That's very compassionate of you. Or very stupid. No. Tae-Ho squeezed her hand. It's human. It's one of the things I love about you. You see people's pain even when they've hurt you. He wrote me a letter. The police have it. They said I don't have to read it if I don't want to. Do you want to? I don't know. My therapist says only when I'm ready. That there's no rush. You're seeing a therapist? Relief crossed his face. Good. Dr. Kim. She's helping with the nightmares. The panic attacks. Eleanor's voice caught. The fear that won't go away. Tell me about the nightmares. Tae-Ho. Tell me. Please. I want to understand what you're carrying. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm back in the warehouse, tied to the chair. But in the dream, you never come. Or you come and you're the one who pulls the trigger. Or you come and Min-Chu shoots you, and I watch you die over and over and I can't stop it. Her hands shook. I wake up screaming. Every night. My mom has to calm me down. And I know it's not real but it feels real. The fear feels real. Tae-Ho pulled her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles gently. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you're living with this. You got shot protecting me. You don't get to apologize. Yes, I do. Because you're suffering and I can't fix it. Can't take it away. Can't. He winced, pain flashing across his face. Don't move too much. You'll tear your stitches. Elanora stood, adjusted his pillows carefully. Dr. Kim says it'll get better with time. That trauma doesn't disappear but it transforms. Becomes something I can live with. Do you believe her? I'm trying to. She sat back down. What about you? How are you really doing? Hurts like hell. Physical therapy is torture. Doctor says I'll have a scar and possibly a permanent limp. He met her eyes. But I'm alive. You're alive. Everything else is manageable. The door opened. Jinwoo entered carrying a folder. Am I interrupting? No, please. Tae-Ho gestured him in. What's that? Legal documents. From the DA's office. Jinwoo set the folder on the bed. Kang Dae-young and 15 of his men are being charged with kidnapping, attempted murder, and racketeering. They're looking at decades in prison. And our territory agreements? The documents you signed under duress are void. We're keeping everything. Jinwoo's expression was grim satisfaction. The Jade Serpents are finished. Their operation dismantled. We won. Elenora watched the exchange, seeing the criminal empire at work. It should have scared her. A month ago it would have. Now she just felt tired. What about the police? She asked. Is the Lee family under investigation? Jinwoo and Tae-Ho exchanged glances. The police have bigger concerns right now, Jinwoo said carefully. The Jade Serpents were involved in trafficking, weapons, drugs. Compared to that, our business interests look relatively benign. That's not an answer. No, it's politics. Jinwoo's voice was honest, at least. We're cooperating with the investigation, providing information, making ourselves useful. In exchange, they're looking the other way on certain activities. So nothing changes. Everything changes. Tae-Ho's voice was firm. I'm restructuring, moving away from the dangerous parts of the business, focusing on legitimate operations, real estate, investments, technology. It'll take time, but I'm done with the violence. Done with the life that almost got you killed. Jinwoo's eyebrows rose. You're serious? Completely. I want a life with her. Tae-Ho looked at Elanora. A real life. Not one where she's constantly in danger because of my choices. So I'm making different choices. Your uncles won't like it. They'll adapt or find someone else to run the family business. I'm done. Tae-Ho's voice left no room for argument. She's my priority now. Building something clean. Something sustainable. Something she doesn't have to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed of you, Elenora said quietly. Maybe you should be. But I'm not. She squeezed his hand. I see you. Not the empire. Not the violence. Just you. And that's who I love. Jinwoo cleared his throat. I'll leave you two alone. Tae-Ho will discuss the restructuring when you're recovered. For now, focus on healing. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Silence settled over the room. You don't have to change your entire life for me, Elenora said. I'm not changing it for you. I'm changing it for us. Tae-Ho shifted carefully, wincing. I've been thinking a lot, lying here with nothing to do but think. And I realized I don't want to be my father. Don't want to sacrifice love for power. Don't want to wake up 20 years from now regretting the choices I made. What do you want? You. A life with you. Maybe a family someday. Maybe a house that isn't a fortress. Maybe, he smiled. Maybe boring normalcy. Dinner at home. Watching movies. Growing old together without bullets and bloodshed. That sounds nice. It does, doesn't it? His thumb traced circles on her hand. But it means leaving behind everything I was raised to be. Everything I thought I was. And what are you now? Just a man who loves a woman. Who wants to be worthy of that love. His eyes were intense despite his exhaustion. Is that enough? It's everything. 3 months later, Seoul International Academy. Elanora walked through the school gates for the first time since the kidnapping. The semester had continued without her. She'd taken medical leave, spent the time in therapy, healing, learning to sleep without nightmares. Her professors had been understanding, her scholarship secure. Now, returning felt surreal. Students stared, of course they did. The kidnapping had been all over the news. The trial preparations were ongoing. She was the girl who'd been taken, held for 4 days, whose rescue involved gunfire and police and a Mafia heir nearly dying. She kept her head up, walking through whispers. That's her. Can you imagine what she went through? I heard Lee Tae-Ho got shot protecting her. So romantic. So terrifying. At her locker, someone had left flowers. A note. Welcome back. You're stronger than you know. Your classmates. Her throat tightened. Elenora. She turned. Min-Seo stood there looking different. Less makeup. Simpler clothes. Uncertain. Hi, Min-Seo said quietly. I know you probably don't want to talk to me. I wouldn't blame you if you never wanted to see me again. But I needed to say, I'm sorry. For everything. For my part in what happened to you. For being cruel and jealous and helping him hurt you. I'm so sorry. Elanora studied her. Are you in therapy? Yes, court-ordered, but also I needed it. I'm working at a women's shelter now. Community service. Hearing their stories. Understanding what I contributed to. Min-Seo's voice shook. I can't undo what I did. But I'm trying to become someone who'd never do it again. That's all any of us can do. Eleanor's voice was careful. I'm not ready to forgive you. Maybe I never will be. But I can acknowledge that you called the police. That your call saved lives. It doesn't erase. No, it doesn't. But it matters. Elenora closed her locker. I hope your therapy helps. I hope you find peace. But I need you to stay away from me. For both our sakes. Min-Seo nodded. Tears in her eyes. I understand. Thank you for not hating me. I'm too tired to hate anyone. Elenora picked up her bag. I just want to finish school and move forward. She walked away, leaving Min-Seo standing there. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was closure. That afternoon, in the hospital, Tae-Ho was doing physical therapy when Elenora arrived. Walking laps around his room with the help of a cane, face tight with pain and determination. Show off, she teased from the doorway. He looked up, smiled despite the obvious discomfort. Have to get strong enough to take you on a proper date. I don't need proper dates. I know, but I want to give you normal. Give us normal. She set down her bag, moved to him. He leaned on her slightly as they walked together. How was your first day back? Weird. Surreal. Everyone stares. They'll stop eventually. Will they? She helped him back to bed. We're a news story. The scholarship student and the Mafia heir. The kidnapping. The rescue. It's like a drama plot. It is a drama plot. We're living it. He settled back against pillows. But the best dramas have happy endings. Is that what we're getting? If we fight for it. His hand found hers. Elenora. I know the past 3 months have been hell. The trauma, the recovery, the nightmares. But I want you to know, I don't regret any of it. Not meeting you. Not falling for you. Not taking that bullet. I'd do it all again. Don't say that. It's true. Because you're worth it. Worth every scar. Every painful step in physical therapy. Every. She kissed him, cutting off the words. When they pulled apart, both were breathless. I love you, she whispered. And I'm terrified of how much. Terrified of losing you again. Terrified that this is too good to last. Then we'll be terrified together. His forehead rested against hers. But we'll also be brave together. We survived the worst. Everything else is just living. 6 months later, rooftop at sunset. The same rooftop where they'd first kissed. Where everything had changed. Elenora stood at the railing, looking out over Seoul. The city glittered below, indifferent to the trauma it had hosted, the love it had witnessed. Footsteps behind her. Tae-Ho approached, still favoring his left side slightly but walking without the cane now. You said you wanted to meet here, he said, sliding an arm around her waist. Feeling nostalgic? Something like that. She leaned into him. Remember when you kissed me here? Best decision I ever made. Min-Seo was watching. That's what set everything in motion. I know, but I still don't regret it. His lips brushed her temple. Do you? No. She turned in his arms to face him. I got the letter. From Min-Chu. The police delivered it to my therapist and she gave it to me. Did you read it? Yes. It was... She struggled for words. Heartbreaking. He took full responsibility. Apologized without making excuses. Said he's in therapy, learning why he became what he became. Said he hopes I heal and find happiness. How do you feel about that? Sad. For him. For what he could have been if he'd gotten help earlier. For the little boy whose mother left and who learned all the wrong lessons about love. She looked up at Tae-Ho, but also grateful, because he's getting help now. He's trying. And maybe he'll never fully heal, but at least he's trying. You're remarkable, you know that? I'm surviving. That's all. No. You're thriving. Tae-Ho cupped her face gently. You went back to school. You're acing your classes. You're in therapy and doing the work. You're healing while helping your mom settle in Korea. His voice was thick with emotion. You're incredible. So are you. Restructuring the business. Going legitimate. Building something new. For us. For the life I want to give you. I don't need you to give me a life. I want to build one together. Then let's do that. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Eleanor's breath caught. I'm not proposing, he said quickly. Not yet. Not until you've graduated and we've both fully healed. But I wanted you to have this. He opened the box, revealing a simple necklace. A small pendant shaped like a phoenix rising. We both died and came back. Both rose from ashes. I wanted you to have something to remind you survived. You're strong. You're a survivor. Tears streamed down her face as he fastened the necklace around her neck. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. He kissed her softly. For choosing me. For staying. For loving me despite everything. Despite nothing. I love you because of everything. They stood there on that rooftop as the sun set over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. No longer the colors of blood and endings, but of hope and new beginnings. Two people who'd survived the worst, who'd found each other in the chaos, who'd chosen love over fear, healing over hatred, hope over despair. Ready to go home? Tae-Ho asked. Always, as long as home is with you. They walked away from the railing together, hand in hand, into the golden light. Below them, Seoul continued its endless rhythm. Somewhere in a psychiatric facility, Min-Chu was in therapy, learning to be human again. Somewhere in a women's shelter, Min-Seo was serving her hours, learning what real worth meant. Somewhere in the world, other people were fighting their own battles, facing their own demons, choosing their own paths. But here, on this rooftop, two survivors chose each other. Again and again. Always. Thank you for following Elenora. Min-Chu and Tae-Ho's journey from that first day in the hallway to this moment of healing and hope. Love and trauma. Obsession and freedom. Survival and thriving. What did you think of the ending? Too hopeful? Just right? Drop your final thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, please like, subscribe and share. Your support made this series possible. Until the next story. Peace.